Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
'Cause I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. Well, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. 'Cause I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. Well, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am.
In a sea of bland superhero movies, Marvel and DC alike, every now and then there are a few that come out that shine above the rest. Films like The Dark Knight, Into and Across the Spider-Verse, Black Panther, The Batman, X-Men Days of Future Past, and Spider-Man are just some of the few that stand above the rest of the superhero slop. These films understand their characters and the style of film that reflects the themes and morals of their heroes. Superhero movies at their best can be inspiring, unforgettable, and hearty. I knew that I was eventually gonna have to talk about superhero movies on this channel, and it definitely feels like the right time right now. Walking out of the theater screening Superman, I felt like a little kid again. This kind of revived my hope for superhero films, and it left me with such an immense amount of joy. While DC has made some terrible films and many just okay films, this is definitely not one of them. James Gunn has made truly something special with Superman. To get the comparisons out of the way, I think the tone of this film fits the character of Superman flawlessly and has a great understanding of Superman as a whole, which is an area that films like Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman completely fail at. With the Snyder films, I never felt like Superman was a symbol for hope, and it felt like he was exactly what Lex Luthor in this movie wanted Superman to be like. I'll probably make a video on the entire Snyderverse one day, but for now that's all I'm gonna say on the topic. I think James Gunn is the best comic book film director working today. He cemented himself as one of the greats, with his films literally feeling like a comic book come to life. While he has silly and comedic moments in the Guardians of the Galaxy films and the Suicide Squad, he always has some sort of sentimental message to his films that always manage to tie the whole narrative together. And that is no different with his latest effort, Superman. There is such a great story here of a hero experiencing trial and error, but always getting back on his feet. I absolutely love David Corenswet as Superman. There is no debating that he is Superman now. He acts out every needed emotion to a T and proudly wears the positivity and that want to be good that Superman has. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they'll do next with Corenswet and this rendition of Superman. He's a complete goofball, but not at the expense of showing us his clear-cut mottos and character nuance. I just want to get straight to one of my favorite scenes, which is pretty early on in the movie. It's when we first see Superman fly again. The pose, the panning, the camera, the noise, and the impact are all perfect. From this moment, I knew we were gonna have a good Superman again. It honestly made me tear up already, as it feels like it's been forever since I've seen a superhero on screen actually feel super. What enhances that feeling is the color correction of this film. This is such a gorgeous movie, with Superman's blue, red, and yellow always being vibrant, and the big fight scenes in the daytime almost feeling like I'm watching a Saturday morning cartoon, with the vibrant and clear colors shining through as Superman and his allies fight whatever threat comes at them next. I really love how James Gunn wasn't afraid to have Superman fail time and time again during this film, and how the failure becomes obsolete once the next battle is won. I've seen a lot of people mention this as a negative, but I think this is telling an immensely important message. At the heart of this film, Superman is very flawed when it comes to actually fighting or taking down his villains swiftly. But the reason for this, and the reason why he fails so often, is because we see him trying to save as many people as possible. This is what Superman should be. I honestly don't care that he has to get help in every battle every time, just because this film clearly shows him putting other people first. I love the fact that every person he saves get their own scene where he makes sure they're okay. I mean, he even saved a squirrel at one point. The structure of this film is kind of weird to talk about. I've heard that this was originally going to be split into sections as day 1, day 2, etc. And you can tell when they're supposed to be split into those sections, but honestly, I really don't think this takes away much from the film, as I didn't have any problems with the pacing. I really like the villain of the week sort of structure. I want to talk a bit about Lex Luthor now, played by Nicholas Hoult. I love his performance in this film. He really feels like a D1 rage baiter that would revel in seeing Superman fail. Like everything else in this movie, I love how comic-like this character character is. If Gunn were to make a sequel to this film, I would definitely want Lex Luthor to play at least some part in the story. I think this Lex Luthor could push Superman to his limits. While Lex is a good antagonist, I honestly just want to keep talking about Superman. In most superhero movies, the world or the universe is always on the line. This is a really lazy way to establish stakes in my opinion. The typical superhero must beat villain, so villain doesn't destroy the universe, is the most cookie cutter thing a superhero movie can do, and it got old a long time ago. The stakes in Superman are high, as the characters do state that a black hole could open up to swallow the earth, and the city starts splitting in half. But the difference is that we've seen Superman individually save so many people, it makes me feel like I connected to this world that much more. I felt the stakes because the movie gave me a reason to care. Apart from the people themselves, this film also didn't make me want to see Superman ultimately fail, as these stakes are driven deeper by Superman's motivation and desire to do good and save everyone. Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan, in this is pretty good. I felt the connection between her and Superman was believable enough, and I really like the fact that in the events of this film, they've only been dating for around 3 months. It gives this sort of awkward phase feeling where neither Lois nor Superman are completely sure if this will work for either of them yet. I feel like if we got an already completely fleshed out relationship between them, Superman's humanity wouldn't have shown as much as it did. I always think a superhero's personal life problems are just as, if not more important than their superhero problems. It always helps flesh out the characters and how their hero ideals translate to when they're outside of the costume. A great example of this would be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, the first of which being one of, if not my personal favorite superhero flick. It sees Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker constantly deal with inner turmoil, as the villains he faces in that trilogy are some of his closest friends and idols. It blends his conflicts so well between from when he's Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin and when he's Peter Parker finding out that someone he looks up to in his personal life was this villain all along. The constant balancing between keeping his identity secret, fighting crime as Spider-Man, and dealing with his personal relationships, all at the same time make for a really great story that's instantly iconic and memorable. The same can be said for Superman. Clark Kent's life and Superman's life blend together constantly, as he interviews himself as Superman to keep the public in the loop about his heroic figure while keeping his job at the same time. And when he gets interviewed by Lois, his Superman ideals and his Clark Kent image don't know how to balance one another, as he gets too emotional for what was supposed to be a quick interview. His actions get questioned by Lois, but he doesn't want to be known as anything other than a symbol of hope. A main topic of discussion in this interview, and something that sparked a whole discourse about this film, is Superman's involvement in the Boravia and Jarhanpur War. Obviously, this reflects certain real-life conflicts going on around the globe, but I think the main topic to speak about here is Superman's interference and how it contributes to the entire message of this film. Superman says that he wasn't representing anyone but himself and the concept of being good and doing what is right. He believes he stopped this war entirely, and even though he hasn't, the people of Jarhanpur still believe that he'll come to save them. And honestly, I think it was a good choice to actually not make him be the one to save the country from the invasion. It's the so-called Justice Gang that ends up saving the war from complete catastrophe. This is a really great way to show that sometimes Superman can't be the one to save everyone, and that he doesn't need to be afraid to get his allies to help him, as these other heroes such as Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific are now also upstanding symbols of hope. In such a grim world that feels like it's constantly on the edge of breaking completely, James Gunn has delivered the message to be punk rock. The choice to make Superman the ultimate symbol of hope say this is incredible. It wraps every message this film was trying to say so tightly. That being kind is punk rock, and that we've gotten so far down to the point where being a decent person is not the norm anymore. Going against the grain is the best any of us can do right now, not even necessarily to be against any sort of system, but just to be against the negativity that the world has spawned over these past several years. This is such a positive film and really is a breath of fresh air for the comic book movie genre as a whole. As I said earlier, this film really made me feel like a kid again, and I got very emotional by the time the credits rolled because I realized how much I was smiling and how joyous this film made me. I genuinely think James Gunn has made a masterpiece of a comic book film with this, and even if I'm looking at it through a certain biased lens, I'm not reluctant to say that this is the best superhero film I've seen in recent times. The visuals, the settings, the villains, Superman himself and his allies all serve to create such a fun and emotionally rich story that I'll be remembering and rewatching for a very, very long time. 10 out of 10. If you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. This film really meant a lot to me, and I was very excited to share my thoughts on it with you all. If you agree or disagree with my opinions, feel free to comment any thoughts you have down below, and whatever you think I got right or wrong. Feel free to comment any video suggestions as well. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in whatever I do next. Goodbye.